Ask and thou shall receive. Welcome to another live stream, my friends. Bitcoin having a beautiful pump today after breaking my resistance level mentioned in yesterday's live stream. Everything going according to plan with the midterm for Bitcoin still looking absolutely fantastic, you guys. Of course, we need to pay attention to potential resistance levels, but all in all, things are still looking great for not only Bitcoin, but also some altcoins. And guys, in yesterday's video, I mentioned around the 21-minute mark that if we invalidated my lower sell signal on the MDX Trendmaster on the 5-minute here, sitting at about 91.4K, that we would likely push much higher. And that's exactly what we ended up getting here. Not only that, but ever since we've just been printing higher buy signals. So there has been no reason for me to panic out of my position. I have been taking some profits, but I still have about half of it running. Just because everything I was talking about on the 4-hour yesterday, you guys, just that we had the same thing, right? The same thing that I was talking about on the 5-minute where we broke the lower sell signal. We have done the same thing on the 4-hour, which was at about 90.4 thousand. So actually about $1,000 lower than that 5-minute one. But I was very vocal about this in my last couple streams that with that higher buy signal, that's often a warning signal that the trend could be shifting, that I take very serious with the MDX Trendmaster indicator. It's why it's my favorite indicator. And so far, I mean, that's exactly showing why I feel that way, because on the 4-hour, I was right to think that, you know, if we end up pushing above this level, that I think that we at least end up testing these resistance boxes that I've had mapped out. But I actually even mentioned yesterday, I think that there's a good chance we actually smash through this resistance this time, mostly just because, and this could take a try or two. I don't know if we're going to break through it right now. Obviously we could, it might take a couple of runs, but just the fact that we had broken that lower sell signal trend and we created a higher buy signal trend, that even if we end up dropping, just Bitcoin's done a fantastic job of building support. I mean, just looking at the micro range, we have, this would basically be our most recent micro higher low on the trend, sitting around 92,000 US dollars. But we obviously had one below that. We had one before that. And obviously just Bitcoin's just done a fantastic job building support on this climb to the upside. So even if we see a little bit of a pullback, I mean, ideally, I would love to see this 92K level hold just because there's some microstructure on the 4-hour there. But even if we drop a little bit further, let's say closer to 90,000, I mean, we still have the MDX Trendmaster providing some potential support there. So, and guys, for those of you who are interested in seeing way more examples of how I'm looking at the market, some of my trade setups, strategies, and so on, be sure to scan the QR code on the screen and sign up to BloFin to gain access to the current as well as future promotions that they put on for my followers, you guys. This is through the no KYC exchange that I personally trade on. And this will also give you access to my private Telegram channel. And like I said, yesterday, I was talking about that 91.4K level. And basically, let me just drop this here, zooming into the 5-minute. So notice, even though it was just a wick here, we ended up getting above that resistance level I was talking about. And I took the long off the retest of this pink line, which is that obviously the buy trend of that indicator. And so far just holding on absolutely fantastic. Like I said, still staircasing higher. One concern that I do have a little bit of right now is just the fact that we've lost a very micro trend here. So if I pull a fib from here, we're obviously getting close. And actually that mini STUBER fib lines up with the start of my red box here. So there is some potential resistance forming and just a bit of weakness on the 5-minute. But once again, on the 4-hour, I just think that things look fantastic. So yeah, that position actually up a little bit more since posting this in the chat just a little while ago, you guys, but an absolutely phenomenal trade setup and position going on there. So love to see it. The weekly chart, as I mentioned, you guys, one thing that was making me very bullish yesterday was the fact that the RSI has this divergence on it, right? The fact that the divergence has been climbing aggressively while we are just now starting to test this resistance level that we had about a month ago. But look how much more strength we have in the market, right? The RSI, relative strength index, is significantly higher than the last time we approached this level. So that's just a bit of a divergence showing some strength, in my opinion. And guys, if you do appreciate my level-headed approach and just be trying to be the voice of reason in these crazy markets, and you appreciate me just keeping you guys up to speed and just looking at the charts for what they are, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. This channel, we are very much so focused on trading actual charts rather than that hopium. And yeah, obviously there's people who have been calling for the bottom for such a long time, even at the bottom calling this wick, but that is because they have been calling the bottom this entire trend. Whereas notice that those of you who have been following along in these live streams and in my Telegram know that we were absolutely crushing this downtrend. And when I felt that the time was right, that's where I flipped to a much more bullish opinion about the market. So absolutely great to see. Looking at Bitcoin dominance, I know I was talking about this one yesterday because I think that if Bitcoin ends up pumping, and even if Bitcoin doesn't go to new all-time highs, like that's the thing. I'm not a total moon boy where I'm saying we're going to go parabolic, we're going to new all-time highs, all that sort of good stuff. But I am open to the idea of getting a very serious rally here. And if that ends up happening with Bitcoin dominance dropping off a cliff, that would be a huge green light for the altcoin market, even if Bitcoin has set its all-time high or its market cycle high or whatever. I still think that there's room for altcoins to finally end up going for their run and getting their moment in the sun. And although there is mixed signals on this indicator right now on the daily of this, we have a higher buy signals, but as I was mentioning yesterday, the higher buy signals seem to be tapering out, almost rounding over, whereas that was our first lower sell signal in over 3 years, you guys. So I'm hoping that this ends up basically rolling over, pushing over. We get another lower sell signal. I would love to see this dump off a cliff because that would be a huge green light for altcoins. So far, it is looking good. The fact that the MDX Trendmaster here is starting to flip this buy, this purple line here is starting to flip blue again. So we don't have that lower sell yet, but we are starting to see signs that this could be rolling over. Basically, if Bitcoin dominance could drop below this at around 58.4%, 58.47%, if we could drop below that, I think that would be a great sign for the market. Obviously, there's still potential that this would end up finding support. But at this point, just with how this indicator is printing these signals, that I would love to see this end up trending to the downside. Ethereum playing out beautifully. Now, guys, as I mentioned yesterday, I did not take a long position on this, but I did mention well in advance about this potential STUBER fib setup. Unfortunately, never took it because it did come down, tested right to the 786 pretty much, and it has just today hit that 214 target. So almost a 17% move to the upside. Absolutely huge because, I mean, Ethereum's one of the biggest caps out there. So that's a very nice move out of Ethereum there. Solana, as I was mentioning, I really think that it was possible we end up at about 140 because just that's where our macro resistance starts basically. I shouldn't even say macro, just the midterm trend resistance starts at about 140 and runs up to about 152. I don't know if this resistance is going to stop it. I'm not as interested in shorting the market as I was the last couple of months. So at this point, I'm more so just playing cautiously and not looking to FOMO into longs on Solana at this point. But even though I think a breakout is absolutely possible, even bringing up the Trendmaster here once again, you guys, we obviously have this buy signal. However, something worth noting, it's obviously a much lower buy signal. So at this point, we could still end up finding resistance here, print a lower sell signal and continue trending to the downside. In my opinion, it's really matters what Bitcoin and the rest of the market does, basically. A lot of altcoins are looking very good. SUI, S-U-I, this is one that I've been mentioning in the last couple streams ever since somebody had asked me to look at it on stream. I ran out of time that day, mentioned it in the Telegram, you guys, and also on my last stream. So basically, same thing here. Notice that there's a trend here that how I'm using this indicator here is basically same thing, right? We ended up printing just a series of lower sell signals. I mean, if you were playing those for the last several months, I've just been crushing the trend with those signals. Not me myself, just the trend in general, or this indicator in general, absolutely crushing it on this coin here. But as I mentioned, that I was going long and basically more bullish on this as we ended up breaking above that lower sell signal. Not a perfect entry by any means. I was playing a breakout here, just a continuation of the trend, but it is risk-free at this point. And things are just looking great. Like I said, the market in general looks fairly good. If Bitcoin dominance can roll over, that would be absolutely fantastic. If Bitcoin can just continue trading to the upside or just trade sideways, basically do anything other than get spooked and nuke to the downside. Other than that, things are looking pretty fantastic to me. Hype is another coin I mentioned the last few streams, you guys. Basically, when we were trading down here, I had mentioned that although once again we have a lower sell signal, that the fact that a good chunk of the rest of the market was looking quite strong. So I was expecting hype to basically end up doing whatever the rest of the market does. So I was expecting us to end up breaking that. And notice that right now, it's actually fairly early at this point still, but we did end up breaking above that lower sell line here. And since then, basically coming down, never quite retested this buy trend, but retested the higher low on the microstructure here. And just all in all, it looks to me like this is wanting to trend to the upside, basically. Basically, as long as we're holding above this support here at about $23.80. Ideally, we hold above this support at about $25.78. But as long as we are holding basically the new buy signal support on this, I would expect that we are starting some sort of an uptrend on hype as well. So things look pretty good there. Troll is one that I've been mentioning quite a bit as far as my meme coin of choice. It is obviously high risk, very volatile, a low market cap, a meme coin. But as I was talking about, I thought that we were at least trading at some support levels, and that STUBER fib, it has hit the 214 target, but that was a quick 50% pump to the upside. I would love to see this thing go parabolic. I would love to not only see it, but catch it again. Last time I ended up catching about a 25x by basically playing the same kind of a support range back here. So I'm hoping we end up seeing the same thing. Now, obviously, if the market gets spooked, Bitcoin and altcoins start tanking again, I would not expect any miracles out of any meme coin. However, if the market ends up trending back to the upside and altcoins and meme coins do get their time in the sun, I think that this is a sleeping giant here. Just from structure, from how active the community is, the fact that they own the legal rights to the artwork. It's an OG meme. It's been around for decades. I mean, there's just, the list goes on and on. But again, high risk because it's a meme coin and it's a low cap. How are you all doing? Let me know in the chat how you're all feeling about the market. Are you guys some of the late shorters who are upset about the pump, or are you excited? Are you moon boys like me? Because guys, this might be a refreshing change of pace for you guys, because a lot of people think that I'm a perma bear when it comes to crypto, but just the fact is I was permanently bearish while we had bearish structure. But as we started to invalidate some of my resistance levels and bearish theories, that's where I'm willing to be bullish again. And this is honestly the most bullish I have been on the market since that October 10th crash. And again, I'm not saying that we need to go to all-time highs. I'm not saying we need to go parabolic, anything like that. But I do think that there's at least a chance that Bitcoin can keep trending to the upside. Again, the 4 hour, we have actually reached my resistance levels, so we need to be a little bit cautious. That's why I was taking some profits off of my long position, but I'm not overly interested in shorting the market right now for the first time in a very long time. So I don't know. I kind of miss it. Obviously, I was having a great time shorting the market the last few months, but you know what? I love being a moon boy as well, and altcoins will be a lot of fun. Those of you guys who have been in my Telegram and on these live streams for a good amount of time at this point, you'll remember that I was a moon boy with altcoins, and I was trading altcoins aggressively back in, I want to say it was July. I believe it was either July or September, somewhere in that area. I think it was July. But that's kind of how I'm feeling again, and why I'm starting to keep my eyes on some more altcoins at this point, and why I am trading some altcoins. I mean, I have Sui long. I think I am going to start laddering into a bit of a hype long as well, because I just think that this thing's about to take off. Just a gut feeling here based on, well, the same thing that I looked at on SUI, the same thing I was looking at Bitcoin on the 4-hour and the 5-minute. I just love to see that this level was broken here. So I am going to start laddering into a position. I will keep Telegram members up to date with that. I will be posting exactly what I'm planning on doing there right after the stream here, you guys. What else? Oh, and I know I have some automation. I've got a few bots that are in some positions to AVAX, Ethereum, and Jupiter. Let's check out AVAX. My bot is in from 13,567. 67. 13,567. My bot caught that one quite a while ago. But beautiful to see that. And just like I've been talking about with AVAX in the last several streams, is very much the same thing, right? The fact that we had higher trending buy signals showing up on the 4-hour on AVAX. So yeah, unfortunately playing a bit of a breakout, so not the best entry, but playing out perfectly. And so far just trending higher at this point and risk-free. So love to see that. I guess when I said that I'm not in an Ethereum position, I guess I lied because I forgot that I had a bot set up with that. Jupiter, let's check out Jupiter here as well. My entry price on this guy is 0.19478. So again, just a beautiful position there. Kind of the beauty of automation, because I wasn't watching those coins all too much for myself. But that being said, much like AVAX and much like SUI and much like a bunch of altcoins, is we are seeing this market just trend to the upside, setting higher highs and higher lows. A higher high, higher high, higher low, another higher high, confirmed higher low. And even if we end up breaking that higher low on the trend, we have the MDX Trendmaster just a little bit below. That could also end up providing support. So things looking absolutely fantastic to me, you guys, at this point. And thank you all so much for being here with me. I see you guys in the chat. So many familiar names that you guys are here pretty much every stream. So I appreciate you guys being here with me every single day, pretty much, you guys. Now that we're into the new year and the holiday season is done, much more active in not only the Telegram, but also with my live streams again. So planning to be back on schedule for pretty much daily live streams here. Could I see a drop to close the 2 CME gaps at 90K or 88K? Yeah, it's absolutely a possibility. What is the ticker for that again? Is it BTC1? What's the ticker? Yeah, I can't remember. I don't look at the gaps all too closely, but yes, they could absolutely end up filling. They usually end up filling. I just personally don't trade based on them all too much. I would rather trade them if the gap fills rather than trading to expect the gap to fill. Because even if those gaps are going to fill, let's say you said, what, 88K? So let's just say that there's a gap down there to fill. Let's just make it white. Let's say there's a gap down there to fill. You know, we could fill it, but we could do something like this before we fill it. So trying to trade that can be incredibly difficult. But yeah, it's absolutely possible. Usually those gaps fill eventually. It's just hard to say when it's going to happen. But yeah, if we end up trading down there, basically that, let's just pull a fib from, let's call this the bottom of that range there, since we set that buy signal, and notice that that would actually line up with my STUBER fib pocket very well. So Again, I don't want to turn a blind eye to resistance. I think it's very possible we see some sort of a rejection right now, for example, exactly why I took more profits off my long. Because, like I said, we did technically lose a little bit of structure here, saw a little bit of a retracement, and currently seeing a bit of a rejection. I personally am not all that interested in playing this short. Maybe I should have taken a bit of a hedge short just in case, but I'm more interested in longing pullbacks now, just like the last couple of months, how, yeah, there was long opportunities to be taken and there was buy levels, but I was much more interested in waiting for the retracements to get into new shorts. Whereas right now I'm kind of looking at the same for long opportunities instead. J-Rock, great question. Hey, Stu, great call, flipping bullish. Thank you, sir. Curious what you would do now if you weren't currently in any longs or just took profits already. At this point, if I wasn't in anything, I would be basically waiting for some sort of a new, well, basically a new setup. I guess I don't know if you have the MDX ALGO indicators, for example. One thing that I'm waiting for to get into some new scalps, because I don't mind adding some new positions, even though it's obviously late to the upside, as long as I have something new. But let's say eventually we end up printing another buy signal. At that point, I would be interested in adding another long position. Other than that, I would basically be waiting for some sort of a STUBER fib setup. How that would end up playing out, it is tough to say, but this is going to be very theoretical. So don't set orders based on this or anything like that. But let's say, for example, we set another higher high, right? We break above this high here. At that point, I would be looking for some sort of a retracement to end up getting into a long, because if this was our high and we set a higher high like this, that would confirm the lowest point between the two as my higher low on the trend. And then I would be looking to get into some sort of a retracement like that. Right now, unfortunately, we don't have that since we have broken the uptrend. So at this point, it's kind of a bit of a waiting game. I'm not sure how close I'm going to be watching the markets tonight, because when I'm in a nice running position like this, obviously the stress is off a little bit. So I don't mind just letting it run. And if I don't catch anything else, so be it. But I will be keeping an eye on things at least for a few more hours off and on. And if I end up seeing a higher buy signal on the 5-minute, for example, or some sort of a continuation STUBER fib to the upside, I will be letting the Telegram know if something catches my eye. BNB and Zcash, I do want to wrap things up here right away, so I will look at those in the Telegram channel. So those of you guys who are already in there, you will see my analysis on there. For those of you guys who are not in there yet and you want to see more examples of some of my favorite trade strategies, trade setups, and just more of my thoughts on the market in general, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen there. And as I mentioned, my partners at BloFin are currently giving my followers this special promo. There is only a couple days left on this promo. I'm sure there will be another one shortly after, but this one ends on January 7th, 8 p.m. UTC, or 2000 hours, however you want to say it, if you're on the 24-hour clock. But yeah, basically a couple more days left of that right there from my partners. And obviously signing up with them also grants you access into my free Telegram channel. BTC1 exclamation mark. Yes, that is correct. Thank you for that. I guess just since I didn't already, I will. Oh, actually, this one, BTC1. Yeah, that looks familiar. Yeah, so you're talking about this gap right down here, thinking that that one has to fill. Yeah, I think it's quite likely that eventually it would. but I just don't know if it's going to be right away or if it's going to be much later or if it happens at all. It obviously, usually those gaps fill, but they definitely don't have to. So something worth considering there. The amount of liquidations on longs are huge. Is that a good sign that bulls are in control, or risk BTC will drop and get that liquidity before the rally? Excellent question. Let me flip off the trend master. Let me erase a couple of things here. Let's bring up our liquidations indicator. And yeah, there is a lot of liquidity below us, especially the big concerning one is the high leverage stuff, these yellow, gold, brown, whatever color you want to say. These yellow goldy bars here, that is more the high leverage stuff, the 50 to 100x liquidations. So yeah, it's very possible eventually that we come and drop and grab that. But remember, when we were initially starting our downtrend, we had a lot of liquidity like that built up at all-time highs and around 130K. And we never did end up grabbing that because we kept just building just enough liquidity in the one direction that the market makers were happy to keep pushing it. And that is possible right here. But yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of liquidity below us. So we don't want to let our guards down, right? We still want to pay attention to these resistance levels. I'm less interested in shorting resistance at this time. Doesn't mean it won't happen if something catches my eye on a lower time frame again or whatever. But yeah, definitely worth mentioning that it makes sense. Basically, when I see liquidity on both sides like this, it makes sense that the market maker could push either direction. If there was nothing up here, I would say, yeah, we're likely going to go and grab some liquidity to the downside. But the fact that there is still some to the upside, the market makers could just end up continuing pushing that way and just building more liquidity to the downside over time. We'll have to see what happens. Is there a free indicator equal to that MDX ALGO? I don't. The MDX ALGO indicators are not free. There is a link in the description down below for a discount if you use my link. But as far as free indicators that are very similar to it doing the same thing, I don't know for sure. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I really wanted to go over today. Just a nice quick update to keep you guys posted with everything, how it's been playing out since yesterday. We got that little breakout. Now, like I said, we got to be a little bit cautious of resistance, but I'm not getting too excited to start building those short positions just because, again, the whole breaking the lower sell signal, the setting a higher buy signal, having all these support levels below us, it just starts to get a little bit risky fighting against the bulls at this point. It would be, I'd feel very different about it if we had a lower low in since our low back here, for example, but we don't. So at this point, just got to be cautious at resistance. But at this point, I think it's risky to be shorting this resistance at this point. But again, I'm basically, when I'm looking at resistance at this point, it's still a sell level. It's just that I was selling some of my long position as we were getting close to this resistance rather than opening shorts, just taking profits on some longs at this point. So as I mentioned, yeah, that's about all I wanted to go over. Just a quick update for you guys. So if you do appreciate these live streams and you're excited that they're back on a regular basis, basically daily updates for you guys, please do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And just a reminder for those interested in learning and seeing more examples of some of my favorite trade strategies, how I use Fibonacci's and market structure and give more of my thoughts on the market in general and how I'm protecting myself and all that sort of good stuff, you guys, do yourselves a favor and scan the QR code on the screen and get into my private Telegram. Like I said, my partners at BloFin still currently running that promo for a couple more days here for you guys, if that's something that interests you. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, peace out. Catch you on the next one. Cheers.